Okay, it is 6 o'clock, and that means it's time to start painting. And, of course, for me, that means it's time to continue painting. I've been doing this stuff all day, but I can't get enough of it, I guess. So here we are. So, while I'm waiting for some heads to pop in here, make sure the stream is going well. I'll talk a little bit about what we're gonna do tonight and what the theme is and that kind of thing. I've had a few requests from people who have who follow my my Facebook page or my Instagram, or who see my posts on Evident. And I'm going to be going over a couple things that were requested by some of those people today. One of them requested a landscape scene with some kind of distant architecture or cityscape in it. So I'm going to kind of use that as my template here, and I also have promised that I will discuss brush creation a little bit, as well as setting up story elements within a painting. So let me just pull up this stream on my phone here so I can make sure I'm seeing the comments as they roll in. There we are. Oh, well, I'll turn the sound off. Glad to know that's coming through though. And here we go. So, since we're going to be doing another landscape piece here today, I'm going to start with something a little wider. Let's do let's do 16 by or sometimes I like to stick with kind of standard, like 16 by 24 or 24 by 16 would be a standard canvas size, but I don't know, sometimes I just like to go with my gut and crop it later, which I don't recommend. But I'm just going to do let's see, a little 5,000 by 3,000 here. And so I like to think about it in terms of pixels. And let's just jump right in here. Let's see. I can never remember why this ruler thing is here. Alright, let's just see if I can get rid of that real quick. Honestly, it doesn't matter too much. I know there's just a button on my keyboard somewhere that turns it on and off. What is it? Well, we'll just roll with it. Rulers. There it is. Gone. That's just a little distraction I don't need. Alright. So, what are we going to do here? Create a new layer. And let's just do a quick sketch here. And think about how we're going to set this up. So, ooh, purple. So yeah, I want to have some kind of city here. Let's start with a horizon line. Let's put that right here. We don't want to have it right in the middle, but yeah. So just want to set something up that's kind of indicative of the distant structure here. And there are all kinds of fun shortcuts you can do to create symmetry, if that's what you're after. You know, copy and paste that, flip it. It's kind of interesting. Yeah, there's a thing. I don't know. Don't have to go into any details right now, but do want to, let's get my my builder tool here. So while we're on the subject of brushes, this is what I call my building brush. It's not that unique, it's just a square thing. So let's go over sort of briefly the elements of like basic brush elements. You have your tip shape here, which is, you know, your defining shape. For this one, it's a rectangle. And then your shape dynamics, basically you can control that with, you just set it to pen pressure, and then you can adjust the minimum diameter here. And that'll just decide like how small this is and how big it's going to get. You know, for this brush, I keep it pretty. I don't have much of a shape dynamic here, but I just want a little bit in case I want to vary the brush size a bit. The reason this brush is called what it is because it doesn't have transfer on, which is this actually has dual brush and transfer. So this is just basic transfer. It means the harder you press, the more opaque it will be, and vice versa. And then you can add texture on top of that, and combination of texture and brush tip shape will give you a more interesting brush. So if you, or you know, I don't have too many textures here. I pretty much just I don't make a lot of brushes. I mostly just adjust existing ones. So truth be told, I'm not super experienced with creating them from scratch. I did create one today, actually. I'll show you, because I just got this this fun new tablet, and I finally have pen tilt capabilities. So you can see, like, as I shift my pen, it's actually changing the direction of the cursor. So I think this will be really useful in this demo. Basically, I've set the shape dynamic settings to pen tilt here, so that it will turn as I move my pen. So I can make these kind of straight lines in one direction, and then I can also sort of sketch in some details like that. And actually, I want to change this just a bit. I'm going to change the tip shape. This isn't. I get it. I guess it is. Like, this isn't the brush I made, but it is. So with this, I can kind of do some stuff like this. I think this will be useful for creating buildings because it'll help me kind of key in some loose perspective lines at different angles like this, and also create, you know, some contrasting textural elements. So I mean, since I've painted this in here, let's just include this in the drawing. Maybe maybe move it over a bit so it's not taking up so much of our space here. But yeah, let's create some. I'll save that brush for later. It's not really a sketching brush so much as it is a, painting details brush. I'm just using Kyle's Ultimate Pencil here. Kyle's brush set is free online. I want to. Another thing I'm gonna try to do is expand my field of view as much as possible, and what that means is basically you're gonna be able to see more of the top and bottom of your camera perspective. If you're a photographer, you're probably pretty familiar with this term already, but it's definitely applicable and something to be thinking about when you're painting, because it's going to determine your composition and the scope of what you can see. So I'm actually going to shrink this down so I can make this field of view more apparent. Basically, it's going to mean some really big kind of shapes that we're looking up here in the clouds, and also some big shapes that we are looking down at by the ground here. It's going to be very zoomed out, if that makes any sense. And then we just want everything around our horizon line and our focal point is just going to be very pinched and condensed. So, and everything's going to kind of radiate out from that in this really extreme way. So let's go back to our building brush here, and we're just going to sort of key in some of those perspective lines, just to sort of get an idea of how we're looking at things here. We really want everything to flatten out as much as possible near that horizon line, and that's gonna help us reinforce this sense of expanded field of view. And likewise, we're gonna have these really, even in the clouds, we're gonna have these huge perspective lines like this. I can even just block them out with this building brush here. So basically, the larger your field of view is, the more you're going to see the shapes near the edges of your canvas here follow perspective lines outward, if that makes any sense. It's sort of hard to describe, but you'll see what I mean. And you can always look this stuff up. There's plenty of information out there about it. And then I'm gonna make some flattish cloud lines here by the horizon. And actually, on second thought, I'm gonna get rid of this over here. I want this to be a super open vista. I want to be able to see everything around me. This is not the kind of landscape you see where I live in Vermont. We have a lot of mountains and trees and everything, so I'm not drawing from experience so much here, but I have seen a lot of pictures of this kind of thing, and if you go out west, you see a lot of stuff like this, where it's just like you can see everything in the landscape around you, and it's a lot of fun. This is going to be some kind of Tower of Doom. I'm not sure exactly, but we're going to have that out there. Okay. I don't know. I think that, I mean, that's probably enough for now. I kind of know. By the way, with this builder brush, I'm just holding down shift and clicking at different areas. That's how I'm making these big lines. It's just a nice shortcut. To increase the field of view even further, I mean, this is supposed to be a pretty distant object, so this effect won't be quite as pronounced. But maybe it can just be a really big distant object. Basically, the bigger it is, the more it's going to have this effect. But I'm just, you can see the edge. I'm just cueing in some more perspective there. And you'll notice that does make it look a bit closer, but you know, we're gonna see how this goes. We're gonna see what happens. And just gonna create some rock shapes around here. And I don't know, this will be some kind of road, I suppose. Flip it, see how this looks. Get rid of this stuff. Yeah, looks pretty cool. Now let's think about storytelling elements here. There's not much of a story here yet. There's just a city, and you know, it can be an interesting city, and that's going to be something that we will develop as we move forward. You know, maybe we can have some unique shapes here. I'm not too concerned about figuring that out right now. I think that will sort of come with a mood once I start putting colors in. But basically, I've established a strong focal point here. I mean, it's right. If you're probably familiar with the rule of thirds, and I'm kind of a sucker for it. Really, I don't deviate too much from that. But I mean, you know, there's plenty of wiggle room. I could put it here. I could put it here. You know, I think. But I mean, you'll see. Like, basically, if you're not familiar with this, you want to have your focal points somewhere around the intersection of these lines. You basically just want to keep it away from this outside region, and you don't want it really dead center, or unless you're really deliberately creating a composition that works that way. You can absolutely have a symmetrical composition. I personally have never really had any success with that, but might be worth exploring. But for the most part, I like to keep it off asymmetrical like this. And so I'm thinking let's I don't know, maybe have some kind of where's my let's delete that. I want to tell a bit of a story here. So it's pretty clear. I mean, these are basic story building blocks. We have a destination. We have put ourselves at the mouth of this pathway, whether it's going to be a literal road or just some kind of some kind of indication. I think it will be a road. I'm kind of imagining this as a bit of a desert landscape right now. And then we have our destination over here. And I think I'm gonna kind of make this. I want to show one of these sides with this structure. I don't want it to be straight on, you know. So I don't even know if this is gonna be the final shape. It's not like, this isn't like a compelling structure really, but it's you know, there's enough there to work off of. So what was I saying? Yeah, so we have our distant location here, and some, you know, kind of supportive structural elements around it. We don't even need those really. It could just be this giant thing out there, but I kind of want to I want to experiment with some other buildings and stuff around it, and that'll help to kind of help it blend a bit, kind of solidify its position in this piece, and also we'll what was I gonna say? I'm not really liking that bit that's sticking up there, but we'll see. This is looking like kind of a futuristic city right now. Anyway, I lost my train of thought with that last sentence, but anyway, story elements. Basically, you have a target point. This is like a basic setup. Obviously, you can mess around with this, and it doesn't always have to be this setup, but you kind of have a target focal area, and then you can create some kind of character, or you don't need that. You know, you can have the viewer be the character themselves, but in this case, I'm thinking of having some kind of I don't know, vehicle or something like that that's hanging out on this road, and or you know, I want to have some characters here, or just one maybe, you know, and a lot of you know, a lot of the storytelling is going to come down to context. And I'm thinking like, so why is this character, you know, I'm okay. So like, yeah, I want to put a character here, but why are they there? So now I have to think of like, I don't know, what reason do they have to be here? So maybe they are traveling, and this is their vehicle. You know, maybe it's got some wheels. I will say vehicle design is not something I do too often, but maybe we can create some motion in this piece too. You know, since there's already so much dynamic motion here, with the these big perspective lines and this big field of view. I'm starting to see something here actually. Yeah, this is gonna be cool. Get rid of this stuff. I know it's just a mess right now, but I'm sort of forming it in my mind's eye, and this is not the best sketching technique. In fact, now that I'm doing more actual sketching, I'm gonna switch back to the pencil here. Quite right, but yeah, I don't know. This is all pretty loose, but got some things going on here. There's gonna be a lot of motion right here. Maybe some dust. Sorry, just I got a little something's going on with this pen here, but let's see if I can switch out the nib. One second here. Okay. Let's keep moving here. This is super rough sketch. Nothing crazy going on here. And this is starting to look like kind of a pretty typical car. I want to kind of push it in more of a futuristic direction, but I like this window here and all this stuff, so I don't know. Maybe I might get rid of these wheels though. I mean, who uses wheels anymore, you know? It's just, let's turn those into engines. Little hover engines here. Yeah, that's more like it. Oops. Yeah, this is, I'm kind of mashing the heck out of this sketch here. It's not very clean, but it doesn't have to be. This is just a quick thing, you know. I'll figure out details later. So yeah, story elements. Where's this coming from? Where's it going? Maybe we have a couple of these. Maybe there's one up here. Just skew that perspective a bit. Maybe there's another one. Whoops. I don't know. This is getting out of control. It's using a big, medium, and small shapes here, just to kind of. I don't know. Maybe this one will be over here. I'll just skew the perspective a bit. I don't know. Just kind of messing around with ideas here. It's not really gonna work, is it? Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of just going with the motion of this piece. And you know, these aren't gonna stay all the same. It's just, and I'm just thinking about how these can all play into a larger narrative. Maybe I won't include that one. Who knows? In any case, let's move on from the sketch and just start painting. Honestly, I'm not super attached to anything here, but for the time being, let's just merge these, dial back the opacity, and keep it for reference. But yeah, I'm just gonna start doing what I mean, I'll just keep that off for now. Actually, I can kind of, well, I don't know, I kind of do a different thing every time, really. But let's just start putting some paint down. I'm actually gonna, this resolution doesn't need to be quite so high. Not for a quick painting here, so that'll make it a bit easier for me to move around with this this oil brush. I might call Big Thick. It's one of the Greg Rutkowski brushes that I love so much. I know I keep bringing that up, but I just have so much fun with them. I'm just creating some color variation. Just right off the bat, like I say, you know, you can always create more color variation. You can always dial back your color variation later, but it's harder to create it as you go. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm skewing the horizon line a bit here. That will help to emphasize the action a bit more. let's take a pause from this crazy brush here for a minute. Do some more digital stuff here. I'm not gonna do what I did last time and rely exclusively on more traditional styles. So yeah, this is perfect, looking good. So yeah, I'm gonna use some more of the soft brush here. I love that there's some texture in there though, even with like a completely cloudless sky, which this is not, but I like to have a bit of texture in there. I don't know, it just makes things interesting. And I'm creating some atmosphere here closer to the horizon line, and yeah, let's just start painting those clouds in. Continue to use this thick brush here, although yeah, just gonna kind of just blocking in color. Don't have to stick with any of this, but this brush, because of the because of the color variation feature, it doesn't get quite up to solid white, but that's fine. We don't need that right now. And what else? I want to have this be a bit kind of a sunset, actually. So I'm going to change the lighting. I'm going to push this blue a bit towards the purple. And then the highlights to the yellow and the red. Shadows to the... It's a subtle change, but it's going to come in handy later. And I'm actually going to start creating some of that sunset lighting over here with the oranges and the yellows and the reds and that kind of thing. And this is gonna, yeah, when during sunset, this is a good thing to keep in mind. The blues of the sky will tend to shift a bit more towards violet, and the light end of the sky will shift from white to more of an orange. So that's why I'm doing this here. Just gonna check here, and then yeah, let's reverse that selection. Start painting in the ground here with some. Use this rake brush that I love so much from the Marco Bucci art pack. Let's just create some. This is the direction that the sun is coming from, so like you'll see a lot of shadows get cast in this direction, which is why I'm kind of going across like this, and it's also helping to reinforce that perspective. Not quite getting the mood I'm looking for yet, but let's. I'm just kind of color blocking right now, so let's just put this building in. And then we can move on to get a bit more painterly with it. I'm just gotta deselect that. And of course, I'm not zooming in at all during this phase. I'm just making very, very vague stuff. All right, that's good enough. I know where my what did I do there? I accidentally merged my sketch layer. It's not that's not a total disaster. Let's just roll with it. I'm gonna paint over all this anyway, and that's what I want to be doing. So, little happy accidents here. So I just to make this compelling as a sunset scene, I'm gonna have to. Let's go back to this. I just want to get some color in here. I'm gonna add some more sunset colors over here. This is all a little too intense, but like I say, you can always dial it back. Just trying to find the right tone here. I've been envisioning some mountains over here. That's why. Whoops. I'm all over the place here. There's that yellow from the sunset. And this is about the point in the painting where I realize I have no idea what I'm doing, and I just keep going anyway. That will probably last for the next, half hour or so. I just need more red everywhere. Let's take a big soft brush. Just this whole thing. I don't know. This is pretty weird so far. Gotta admit, I'm not 100% about what I'm doing here. But like I said, that's just the way it goes. I'm just gonna keep going. It's one of the great things about this live stream is it's just sort of forces me to keep moving here, and I'm gonna use something that has more texture. Yeah, I think often it's hard not to get discouraged when you're actively creating something that's not working. I was gonna say terrible, but it's not the language I'm gonna use right now. So, but I mean, 9 out of 10 times, when I experience that and I continue to work, that is eventually resolved, and I end up creating some really cool things. The last live stream painting I did, I was in this phase for most of it, really. I mean, I didn't say it, but it was this is a cloud. I don't want this to be a mountain. I was pretty what's the word? I don't know. Unconvinced by my painting for the first hour or so. But yeah, I mean, there's always a chance you're gonna create something bad. But just gotta keep going with it. Keep painting. You can, I mean, like, that's the thing. Like, yeah, you could start a new one, but maybe you had a good idea at the beginning. So I like what's going on with this cloud up here. I like these colors. I'm gonna push this a bit more. Yeah. So there's something. You find like one thing you like and just keep messing with it. I think the problem is I kind of imagined I'm kind of dealing with two different time zones here, really. This lighting is not cohesive yet, so I might just dial back the sunset element quite a bit, so this is gonna work well together. But otherwise, I'm just creating color variety, creating texture. And just kind of trusting that I'm gonna make something out of this, you know, or that if I don't, you know, I'll be able to figure out pretty much what I did wrong. But yeah, you know, I mean, at least like what I've established is there's kind of a left radiating lighting scheme, you know. And I think part of the problem here is all these pencil lines are just getting in my way, so I just need to get them out of here before I can envision this clearly. Part of what I'm doing here is something I'll get back to later, but distant shadows will tend to take on this pure blue effect. So I'm just kind of doing away with those harsher elements there. This is starting to look a bit more convincing, and I think it's just I've realized it's not going to be a sunset scene. It's going to be more of a late afternoon kind of thing, somewhere between late afternoon and sunset. And there's a big difference in color and hue and that kind of thing. And I want this horizon to be super open. So I think that was also part of the problem. Yeah, I like this better. And also, you know, what I didn't do, actually what I meant to do today during this stream was bring up some references. And I might do that in a second here, because that's something I do while I work, and it's just I'm not doing that for these streams so much because it takes up some screen space, and I want you guys to be able to see everything, but it also takes a bit of time to find a reference, so that's something I should have done earlier. Whoops, didn't want to save. Not yet. All right, let's do some reinforcing of this shape here. This is my road. It's just going to be a lighter color, and there are going to be a lot of shadow. I mean, I guess, well, we'll see. It looks like this area here is partially in shadow, so maybe this is kind of a hill, and the sun is setting beyond it. These are things I don't know yet. I'm still pinning the mood here, but I painted a study earlier that had this kind of lighting in it, so I'm really liking it. I want to keep that going. Just sort of create these cast shadows with this rake brush here along this. So and this, I think the sun's probably going to be like somewhere off screen to the left. So let's create some nice big lighting shapes here. Trying to find the right color for this, which is difficult. Whoops, well, whatever. There are no mistakes. Yeah, okay, so this is interesting. It's just kind of panning out to be a more of a I don't even know if I want to put that those cars in here anymore. To be honest, I want this to be a bit more naturalistic. Just gonna create some smaller shapes here that are gonna be casting some of these shadows. I'm just gonna check on the YouTube here. Oh yes, all right, Manimation. It's a fun name. Curious as how you make the stories behind an image. I tend to make the image first, and stories will come sort of in response to that. So, whoops, yeah. If that makes any sense, I basically, I'm kind of, but we're gonna need some reflected blues from the sky here. I don't know. The story, I will see things in the shapes and kind of let them lead the way. Once I have a good mood going, usually that will kind of inform my next decision as far as story elements go. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't want to say it's random, but there are. I guess I don't think I can claim credit for what happens so much, but I don't know. It's a good question. I will think about that and try to get you a better answer. Because yeah, it's a good question, and I just can't quite devote the thought to it while I'm creating this stuff right now. Truth be told, I'm pretty lost with this piece right now, and that's okay. Like I said, that happens. But there's not. Sometimes it just takes a bit to figure out what the mood is and how this is all gonna work together. So I'm gonna have to stop talking for a minute while I focus on this. But I will clue you in on what I'm doing as I go. But part of, that's the thing. I guess the most important takeaway from what I'm saying here is that sometimes you just need to get in that flow state and let the brush lead the way. So that's what I'm gonna do here, and that's something that comes to anyone, if they put the time into learning the skills, or even if they don't, everyone is capable of entering that flow state, and that's where the best ideas are generated. But there's not, I think the problem I have with this is there really isn't much of a story so far, so I have to kind of figure out myself what that story is, and then tell you once I've figured it out how I figured it out, and to be honest, there may not be a solid answer, but I will do my best. Just trying to create some color and mood here first. And I like these speckles over here. I kind of want to, I don't know what they are, but I want to, whoops, that's a little intense, isn't it? I want to reinforce that, whatever it is. Some just, I don't know, dust. Just texture. It's all texture. Yeah, I'm feeling like this. This is just, I want this to be super open, and I have this tendency with my compositions to totally like, and that, you know, that's just something I'm aware of with myself. Like it's, I just tend to kind of, I try to block in the edges, and really what I want to be doing here is keeping this open, and that will help to convey the mood here. But I need some kind of countering element, or maybe I need to figure out what this blob of a city is. So I think that will help me. I mean, like, putting a little attention into the focal point may help to help me understand what it is I'm creating here, basically. So let's kind of dive in here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so we can just pay attention to what's going on here. I'm not trying to detail right now as I am as much as I am trying to design. So I'm just trying to come up with a compelling, unique, I mean, you know, nothing's totally unique, but something that's a little, I don't know, that's compelling, that tells a story about a world. So just trying to push beyond more conventional shapes and designs, and like one thing I'm pushing here is the scale, you know. I like that. That's this is a fun little trick, you know, limiting your highlight area on a structure, or anything really for that matter, can really help to sell that focal point and bring attention to that area. So I've just sort of lost the top of that structure in there because I want focus to be distributed more specifically in this painting, if that makes any sense. And I'm noticing now this is kind of similar to the other one I made a little while ago, but it's good, you know. It's good to have consistency in your work. It's good to explore similar themes, and you know, mess around with ideas you've been tinkering with. One thing I'm noticing here is this shape I just created is a bit too small and high contrast. It's just going to draw too much attention. So I have to figure out within this structure how I want to distribute focus of the viewer, as well as with the whole composition. So, yeah, this is looking a bit more unique here, and it's sort of a monochromatic color scheme, but there's plenty of opportunity for variation within that. And I think maybe what I will do is create some bits of foliage here. I just want to create some color interest. Just push these a bit more. I want to have something that has a bit more, that's not quite as soft I'm gonna start creating some more deliberate texturing. I have a lot of brushes that can do that for me. This is one of them. Again, it's from the Greg pack. Called this one choppy cardboard or something like that. It's just great for texturing stuff. Applying some of the strategies that I picked up on with my study earlier today. So, you know, I strongly encourage you to, that is if you're a digital artist, if you're just someone watching this for fun, don't worry about it, but doing studies, it's very important. Something I try to do, you know, as often as possible. That's where you're really gonna learn, you know. So let's see how this is working here. I'm starting to see some opportunity for shadow here. So let's see what happens. I'm not sure about that. How about this? Yeah, it's kind of neat. Maybe have some kind of equivalent highlight here. Something that helps to define that edge. Very subtle. And this is, I don't know, this is all kind of a big mess here. And the way I've set up the strokes make it look like it's slanted downward, but that's not my intention. So let's fix this up. Let's just start from scratch here. Just create some texture. It's gonna be a little bit shadowed. Some red. Create some color variation with the hue slider. Create some little shadows along here. All right. So, where can I go from here? Let's flip it, see what the flip reads. Yeah, this is kind of interesting, kind of a desert landscape. And, you know, it's not totally of this world. I'm just going to create some other indications of, let's try this. Something that kind of follows the perspective a bit. I'm not going to use all of this, but it's just some kind of a guideline. Just put some things in like this. Just simple stuff. Just some variation in the landscape there. All right. This is interesting. Where do we go from here? Let's think about our story for a minute. Yeah, I mean, let's, it'd be nice to have, like, some kind of character or, something that ties this together. But, maybe we won't. I include characters in a lot of my pieces, but I can't really... Maybe I'm just worn out by that and I want to switch it up, but I'm not really able to imagine something like that here. But since for the sake of storytelling here, let's think about this. Where could I fit this into my composition? Like, this is kind of a I don't know, maybe over here, just kind of small. Just a little guy, something like that. Let's get in here and sketch something out quickly, and we'll see if it works. Now, where did I put that brush I made? There it is. Let's see if this will help us out here. Use that tilt function that I love so much, and just, I don't know. We'll have a head. That character's kind of stiff. I'm not gonna, let's delete that. I put that on a new layer, by the way. I want to use some more. I don't know. I'm not quite seeing it here. Let's see if anyone has a comment here. All right, thank you. Glad it's looking good. I think it's looking good too. It's definitely better than it was, and I'm honestly, I'm deliberating over whether or not I want to put a character or anything like that in here. I had that vehicle in there earlier, but it's just, I don't know, something about this. I'm just sort of compelled to keep it the way it is. I think I'm gonna do all the storytelling I can with this distant structure here, So what can we say? I mean, I like the shape of it so far, and just gonna try to create a little bit of a line here. I like the shape of it. I think it's pretty neat. It's got a large amount of scale, and it's pretty unique. I'll put in some window type things here. I think this painting is just going to be all about what's going on with this thing here. Because we don't know. We don't know yet. I don't know. You might know. If you think you know, let me know. Yeah. I don't know. It's what else can we put around here? Little indications of other buildings, perhaps, over here. Nothing quite so impressive or you know, eye-catching, but we can put stuff in here. Let's make a city out of this, you know? And yeah, I mean, check out the colors I'm using here. It's like just blues and saturated highlight, you know, yellows and reds and that kind of thing. And they're all very light, very low contrast, and that's, you know, part of the key to making this distant effect. Let's use this builder tool here. Let's see if this will work for me. Oh, yeah, that's kind of nice. Yeah, maybe I won't do that. I was gonna kind of keep building that up, but I'm not going to. I'm also actually conveniently, since this is on a separate layer, I'm just gonna skew the perspective here. I want this stuff to be following the same. Yeah, that's much better. Same perspective lines. I want all of this stuff to be pointing up in the same general direction. So I'm starting to think this this city is or this building is turning into a city. That's what I'm trying to say. So I'm just trying to figure out how that's gonna work. Maybe it won't even be a city. It could just be a series of spires, you know. I'll have a closer one over here. And as usual, I want to keep an eye on my navigator, and what I'm seeing up there is this is all pretty distracting. So I'm just gonna get rid of that. But let's make this kind of a city among the clouds, you know. Have some things poking out, you know, here and there, but nothing that's too defined. I want the clouds to be sort of going across everything. I'm just messing around, you know. This isn't... Nothing is sacred here. Just creating some stuff. But this is the main... You know, I want this to be the main place right here. Just creating suggestions, you know, suggestions of detail, and just a lot of vertical shapes, you know. It doesn't have to be so clear. And then where these buildings and things meet that illuminated horizon there, they're gonna shift back to a silhouette and not be so, I mean, because the highlight wouldn't even read against this, so they're just gonna be silhouettes. Yeah, I like this. It's just sort of this city among the clouds here. And that's, so I'm doing a couple things to create scale here. One is just limiting my, my value range and sticking to a lot of blues and violets and that kind of thing. And, actually, speaking of which, let's use some of these cloud violet colors for some reflected light along here. The red light from the or the yellowish red light from the ground is reflecting up into these shadows, giving them more of a purplish hue. At least that's the story I'm telling myself. Actually, let's go back to that color. I want to push that more towards the blue, just to help it blend in a little bit. I mean, really, I'm just looking for an excuse to put some other colors in here. Yeah, this is looking kind of cool. Maybe some of these are sort of floating even, you know, they don't even have to be connected with anything in particular. So yeah, now there's a bit more of a story here. We don't know who is going here per se, but we know that when they get there, it's going to be interesting. I'm going to go in with the lasso tool again. Whoops. And sort of solidify some of these lines. Maybe let's create a bit more. Let me redo that here. Just get all that in there. Let's use some of this highlight. And okay. Just fade this in a little bit. This isn't a good fading brush. Alright, let's flip this. Yeah, this is looking kind of cool. There's gonna be room for detail there later. I want to make sure the rest of this painting is caught up. So I'm just gonna mess around a bit. Let's use the mixer brush. And let's give it a heavy mix. Let's see what happens here. See if we can maybe smooth out some of this. This mixer brush isn't really mixing, is it? Don't know why. Well, maybe it is. Oh, I'm on a separate layer here, that's why. I'm a dummy. Alright. So let's just mess around with this stuff a bit. See if we can lose some of these edges, create a bit of interesting variation here. Make it look kind of three-dimensional. Kind of like the wind has been flowing over this region. And that just helps to create some... I'm really just doing this for the sake of creating variety and texture variety, you know. Just makes it more interesting. It's not... I don't know if this is the best move right now, but... Let's, I don't know, let's create some more definition in this landscape here. Make some more reds. Maybe carve out some rocks. In the foreground. Not sure what's happening at all here. This might be a bit heavy-handed, but let's all right, I'm imagining. I mean, this would probably be a good point to pull up some references. So let's so we got about, let me give this another 40 minutes. Let's oh, hey Nick, welcome. I'm gonna see if I can find a good reference for this. Landscapes. These, this one might work. That's kind of an ocean thing. Same kind of mood though. I guess you guys can't really see. Let me blow this up a bit. Just looking for things that can help me to define this landscape a bit more. Let's go to rocks. Oh yeah, this is more the style we're after. This is good. These are definitely more rocky areas, but not so much desert. Let's open this up. See what we can learn. Just for colors at the very least. Just gonna shrink this down here. Pop it up into the... Pop it over here. Maybe I'll pick this red here. It's a nice red. See if I can reinforce some of these perspective lines. Yeah, I mean, this is all pretty impressionistic at this point. Maybe what I need to do is go in and do a bit of drawing, a bit of detailing here and there. Let's try using this builder brush I created earlier. Let's create some lines and stuff. But yeah, this is kind of nice. Just sort of messing around with the horizontal effects here. Yeah, this is a good one for creating landscapes with a good field of view. You know, it's easy to create these horizontal lines this way. I'm not sure about that. I like all these distant blues and purples here in my reference photo. I'm going to try to include some of those. It's red. Red objects at a distance will shift more towards violet because the atmosphere is blue, and red plus blue is violet. Fun little math equation there. So we'll create some subtle indications of mountains, just because why the heck not? They're in my reference photo, so just gonna paint them in. And then I'm gonna create some atmosphere at their base. Just some stuff. This is turning out pretty cool. Gonna create some more saturated marks around the foreground. So that's where you're gonna see the most color. I'm not sure if this is blending well, but you can create some shadows here in these rocky areas. Cool. All right. And yeah, I think a lot of this stuff is just pretty undefined right now, so I'm gonna try to create some more clarity in some of these shapes and objects here. I think I've overcomplicated the color scheme here. That can happen. So I'm just gonna go in with this. I'm gonna try to unify what's going on here. Sort of take some tips from that reference photo. Yeah, I really like this this brush I made earlier. It's working out nice. Really helpful. It's a bit intense for a blue. Let's dial it back a bit. See if we can create some more interesting shadow stuff here. Those deep dark reds I put in are just not vibing well with everything else. I'm gonna try to shut those out. Flip it. Okay. Let's do some sketching in these crevices here. Create some more definition. Oh, hey, Michael. Is YouTube freezing? Is that an issue? Let me know. Yeah. Should have a solid stream on both ends, but yeah, feel free to leave a comment and let me know how it's going. Okay, maybe I've been fixating too much on this road here. So I'm gonna think about what I want to prioritize here in my last. I'll move this. I don't know. how much good this reference is going to do me right now. I would have to find a better one that fits this this circumstance a little better. But for the time being, let's revisit these clouds and make them look fun and interesting. This mixer brush. I don't want to get rid of all my texture, but I do want to sort of allude to the wispiness and the that kind of fun quality about clouds. Bearing in mind my light source, where it's coming from. I want to create some color variety in here too. That's always fun. Sorry, you can hear I don't know if you can hear my chair creaking, but it's a lot of fun. This chair's getting sick of me. I've been sitting in it all day. Okay, and I want to paint these clouds as if I'm looking from underneath them. It's going to help reinforce that field of view I was talking about earlier. So there's going to be, some shadow shapes for the most part in here. And then, the rest is going to be kind of, clouds are tricky because they behave as a three-dimensional object, but they're also semi-transparent, and they're also, variations of, there's variety in their solidity. So it's not, they're not totally solid, somewhat transparent, but they can also form these really interesting solid shapes. So sometimes it's hard to know what's going on with them, but as always, it's great to do a study. Cloud study. Cloud studies are so much fun. I'll just create some more sweeping motions in here. That's kind of cool. Okay. And I'm just going to sort of cut down a little bit on that miscellaneous texture there. As much as I like it, it's not quite vibing with the clouds so much. Let's just go in here and create some vague indications of clouds passing. That might be a little aggressive. Clouds passing around here. I'd better use a different brush. Clouds. There's one. Let's see what that looks like. I'm not always a fan of I'm usually not a fan of the cloud brushes. But there are some that are helpful in achieving that look. I've created a bit of a shadow across here. As if there were a cloud blocking the light source some ways away. It's just a fun little thing you can do. Flip. See how it looks. That's shaping up okay. get back to that mixer brush, finish up what I was doing up here. Something about using this brush is just so conducive to creating clouds and cloud forms. I would say the last thing I'm gonna do here is go back and just really make some interesting stuff happening around this focal point, because that's what's really gonna sell this painting. And I say that a lot. I don't mean like I'm trying to sell this to anyone, but you know, it's gonna. That's what's really gonna tie it together, I suppose. Is what I mean. Just experimenting with this stuff, though, seeing what looks good. You don't always know if you don't have a reference handy what's gonna work for this kind of stuff. So I do have cloud references, by the way, but I'm not I don't totally feel like I need them right now. I could have really used a desert landscape reference, but alas, I don't have one right now. This is not my usual, I usually don't paint these desert scenarios, but it's quite fun. Alright, so those clouds are looking pretty good. The landscape is like, I don't know, close enough. I'm not like 100% with everything that's going on down here, but it's not super important. What's important is this area right here. So let's go in and make some fun stuff happen. Let's bring out this cutting edge builder brush again, and it's just, and bring this to more to the white. Start making some indications of, I don't know what yet. I think this may not be the best tool. We'll see. Okay, I'm not gonna mess with that. I think most of the definition here is gonna be done by the shadows. So let's take out the lasso tool again. I'm liking these kind of diamond shapes that are happening here and there. So let's emphasize that. Make one here. Little diamond. Make a couple more. I don't know what they're doing really. Oh, I forgot I have feather on. I always forget it when I put that on. Just means that my selections are not, they're super soft like that. I don't want that right now. Let's give this one some definition. Just floating crystal things or shards of some kind. Let's give that one a bit of a shadow. Oops. Forgot to reverse my selection. Huh. That's interesting. Interesting effect. Just making some careful selections here. Oops. create some shadows. Oh yeah, that looks pretty cool. You know, those little details make a big difference. I'm glad that I'm starting to be able to define this area in a way that's more interesting. Might kind of do away with that shadow in the middle there. We'll see. Create a bit of a line, just something very subtle, not all the way down. This is kind of the fun part, I think. You know. I'm starting to lose some of my clarity of this design here, so let me just reinforce this like central what's that? This is Washington Monument structure here is I think very important, so I'm just going to try to reinforce that as much as possible. I think this is all looking sort of bland texture-wise, so I'm gonna do a wand selection here and see what I can do with this in terms of texture. It just needs some spunk. That's not it. Just gonna basically just try some different things, see what sticks. Maybe some pure white would be good to help this read a bit better. But not everywhere, of course. Looks like I need to pay attention to what I'm creating symmetrically here. Whoa. Hit the wrong button. Whole thing goes crazy. let's try something here. This is kind of radical. Shoot. I'm going to just gonna darken this just a little bit. It's not gonna work. Lower it. I don't know. It's not quite working for me. No. Okay. It's worth a try. Let's create some other interesting tower-like things here. And this, I feel like this needs some kind of some frontal texture features, you know? Windows or what exactly? I don't know. Balconies. I guess I can just let's select this again. Maybe there's some kind of shortcut I can do for that. Let's try this. That is the sound of random texture. Nope. So you can't be random, and that's kind of I have to sort of deliberately design this. But I'm gonna take the last 10 minutes and just sort of. I mean, it is a fun thing to do, but I just want to. Yeah, I'll just give this some more features, I suppose. Make it look like it is, in fact, some kind of distant structure here. Very small windows, or what? Maybe there is a little balcony here. Just some things and stuff. Little variations in the overall pattern and the edges. Notice that this is the only place I'm going into this much detail. You know, I'm not going in here and trying to mess with this because God knows what I was doing here. I say as I go in and mess with it. I'm doing this because I'm just starting to see. I mean, I took some time away from it, and now I'm seeing some of the flaws that I need to resolve. So, and part of that is just making some clear shape choices. That makes sense. Within the context. I might be going a little overboard with this. It's easy to get obsessed with fixing things. And if you follow that for too long, it will be a waste of time. I mean, like I say, no time spent painting is ever a waste of time. But That being said, there are more and less efficient ways to go about that. It's not always advised that you spend a lot of time obsessing over anything. If you know, and that part of that is just has to do with your mood. If you're in a bad mood when you're painting, your painting is gonna look like it has a bad mood. People are gonna notice that. So, if you get frustrated, if you get obsessed, just take a break, work on something else, go to a different part of the painting. I think I have improved that, but I'm not really sure. Not really sure about any of this down here, but that's okay. I just kind of put a rock in the middle of that path. Yeah. I'm gonna, this is letting me know where I need to improve and where I need to, what I need to work on. Right? So, because I'm kind of flying blind with this landscape style for some reason. So, I'm going to make a note of that. Maybe get to doing a study at some point. I'm like trying to draw from my internal database for what it is I'm supposed to be painting here, and I'm just drawing a blank. But so I'm just gonna kind of make it up. I don't know. Just sort of start to create some simplified shapes. I think this is a bit too dark. Let's lighten that up a bit. Actually picking directly from the sky for that. And notice how it just blends right in. That edge is completely lost, and it helps all of this read a lot better. I'm gonna forget about this for a second. This isn't getting me anywhere. Actually, that's kind of cool. I don't know. Yeah, I don't at all know what I'm doing over here. That's okay. I tell myself. Just need to simplify it. I think that's the problem. I always have to simplify things. Make them read better. Help more attention go back to this area here. I think what I just did actually is an improvement. So, hooray. I don't know why exactly, but I mean, well, I do. It's just I'm just simplifying this whole area. It's helping, like I said, it's helping to draw more attention back to the main show over here. Speaking of which, let's return to some of that foliage we were messing around with earlier. Just have some fun with it. Some of this kind of stuff. then just gonna try to reinforce some of these big horizontal things that are going on. Maybe not like that. Let's try something else. Yeah, it's kind of cool. No, it's a bit extreme. All right, I'll leave it be. Okay. Is there anything else I can do here to improve this at this point? I mean, yeah, the short answer is absolutely. But am I gonna do that today? Probably not. I think I kind of burned myself out on painting today. Believe it or not. Let's see if I can make this whole area read a bit better. Maybe get back to some of this blue and do a little of this little atmosphere. Never hurt nobody. Let's drop our levels down, not too far, but something. I'm just looking up at the thumbnail, and it's just not. This whole thing isn't quite reading well as a unit, but you know, I like this detail here. I like what I've set up here. I almost feel like this whole area could do better in a different context. I don't think the landscape is supporting it very well, if that makes any sense. But you know, I think to continue trying to push past that right now is would probably be a mistake. Although I do like what I'm doing here with the atmosphere, and maybe that's kind of the unifying factor that I was perhaps missing. I don't want to go too crazy with it because this is a dry landscape, but it does help to tie everything together a bit. And I'm just going to go back in and kind of reinforce what I set up earlier with that faded highlight at the top there. And also just try to reinforce this landscape line. I don't know what's going on with that little rock thing there. Well, this was a leap and a bound from where it started in a way, but I think it's still pretty solid overall. I think, like I said, I would, if I were to do this over again, or if I were to continue my work on this, which I might, I would find I'd find some references to kind of help me move past the block that I'm experiencing with this land mass here, and maybe think of some interesting ways that I can utilize that landscape space to reinforce the story that's being told by that city. For now, it's to me at least, it's sort of just taking up space in the painting. So, yeah, I will have to to think about that. I mean, but in the meantime, I think this is pretty solid painting for a couple hours, and so yeah, if you have any questions about this process, or anything you'd like to see in the next painting demo, please let me know in the comments. And thank you all for joining me, for you guys on Facebook and on YouTube. It's been another fun night of painting with you guys. So yeah, I'll be doing this again next week. So if you want to get notified about this more, please feel free to check out my website there. Sign up for the email list. Get a free digital art pack when you sign up, which is a great deal. And you will also get notifications about events like this in the future. Or you can check out the Facebook page or the YouTube channel. If you're already watching from there, just go ahead and subscribe or like the page, and you'll get notifications about this in the future. All right, I'm going to turn off the stream here, but thank you guys again for joining me, and hope you have a good night.